Welcome in, everybody. Tuesday night here. This is Divots and Pivots. I'm Andrew LeDuc, and yes, I am solo tonight. Keith is away on a much-deserved vacation, somewhere sunny, somewhere nice, somewhere not thunderstorming like it is here in New Hampshire. But anyways, let's get at it. Once again, this show is always brought to you by Acorn Hills. Get on over to acornhillsco.com. Use discount code DIVPIV15, get 15% off your purchase in there. And if you want, also go and check out on their website there the Founders Club. Something that Nate does over there now. He's been doing it for a little while now with a lot of success. Is that quarterly you can subscribe to this quarterly program. You go ahead and get a box in the mail with all of the selections by Nate himself that he has put together for you. So Nate puts together the founder selections for that quarter. You get them every quarter. It's a great program. Go ahead, check that out. See if you can do it. And as always, keep supporting those guys over at Acorn Hills because they are changing the world in the only way that they know how, and they're doing a damn good job at it. So as always, Acorn Hills, shout out. And shout out Golfer Gang Network and That Sports Podcast Network as well. Always our home here for Divots and Pivots. Well, all that aside, let's get into the Masters because another Masters has come and gone. It's almost bittersweet when the Masters ends because you could easily just sit there and watch another 4 days of it. At least that's how I feel. It doesn't get old for me. It feels a little disappointing when it's all said and done. But that's not to say that it wasn't great because once again we had ourselves another great Masters. It looked like Rory was going to run away with it. He came back to the pack in grand Rory fashion, and then the rest is history, as you guys know. He went out there, was able to hold off the field, do just enough to get his feet back on the ground to win his second Masters in a row, something that has only been done 3 other times before this year. Once by Tiger Woods, once by Jack Nicklaus, and once by Sir Nick Faldo. So Rory now in rare company and very esteemed company as well. So Rory's cementing himself in history, which, he already was, but now this has definitely taken him to a new tier, which we're now saying 2 years in a row, because obviously completing the career Grand Slam last year was a massive step for his next step forward as far as where he is on the Legends list. And this only propels him even further up that list. So Rory McIlroy, we'll see what he does going forward. He's taking some time off now. But let's start with Rory because a lot of people I've been hearing through messages, through social media, on other shows and on TikTok and all that, all those places, they're mad that Rory played before the Masters at Augusta instead of playing, the Valero Texas Open, the Valspar Championship, the Houston, the Children's Open. I forget the name of that one, but they're mad that he didn't play in those, and instead he took time to fly up to Augusta for a day, multiple times, play around, have some lunch, and then fly back home. And people think it's an unfair advantage. People think that not everybody can do that. It's not fair, and that's why for a golf course that it requires so much course knowledge, course history, kind of course comfort, that it's an unfair advantage for everybody else, and that it people are saying it puts an asterisk on this win for him, that it's a fake Masters win, and I just want all that talk to stop because I don't know why people are forcing an issue to be upset after such a great Masters. Like, why do we immediately have to be finding something to point at that was wrong with this Masters? This Masters was fantastic. Gary Woodland was in the mix. His story is a story that everyone can get behind, with his brain surgery and the road to recovery coming back from that, and him recently opening up about his PTSD and feeling like that's off his chest, and now he's been cruising since then. And other stories with Scheffler, to what level is his game at? Is it elite enough? He spoke to that after the Masters as well. There was just storyline after storyline when it came to this Masters. Justin Rose, once again, falling just short, but once again, trying to just leapfrog Rory on that final day and not being able to. I mean, this is there was plenty of good things about this Masters. Why on earth people feel the need to say, "Oh, he went and played too much before," is an issue? Few things here, okay? Number one, as Kevin Kisner said on Foreplay, uh, Rory did something that other people have done all the time. Once you get as Kisner said, once you get your invitation to the Masters, you have an open invite to go and play on a temporary membership whenever you want. Now he did say that if you're going every single day, they're probably going to tell you to cool your jets, but they're definitely not going to turn Rory away, as he said. And so this is something that is not out of the norm for players and past champions to do. Two, Rory's earned this. He won the Masters. He's won the career Grand Slam. He has an established elite career that the tour needs him to stay at that level. The tour needs the storylines around him. For him to miss 3 tournaments to focus on this one, he's earned that right. He's earned the right to manipulate his own playing schedule in a way that works for him and is, in this case, a game plan advantage, something that he felt like he needed to do to prepare for the Masters. So as long as he hits his required minimum tournaments and required signature events and all that stuff that the tour requires, he's fully within his right, the rules, and what he's earned as a professional to this point. So who cares that he decided to take some day trips up to Augusta and play the course a few times. One of those is with his father, which they spoke a lot in the broadcast about, of how sentimental of a moment that was for him. So there's that. And then the last thing is that, actually, I think I said it all already. So to sum it up, he's earned it, and it's something that other guys do. Like, this is not a big deal, guys. He went and played the Augusta before Masters week. All right, whoop-de-doo. Other people could have done that. Yes, they chose to go play in these other tournaments, but you don't know where their schedule looks like for the rest of the year. They're probably going to be missing some other tournaments. At some point, Rory's going to be making up some tournaments that we might not expect to see him in. So it's all going to balance out. He'll hit his minimums, and he's going to be within the rules. So I just want people to leave that alone. It's probably already dying down at this point on Tuesday night. So it's going to be a non-story, as it should stay a non-story. Now, something that the only thing I think you can look at Rory as controversial from this weekend, I think, is in his interview after, when asked about the playing. I don't think the tour likes so much that he flat out said, "I just don't quite like the tournaments leading up to this tournament." Now, I'm sure he doesn't. I'm sure a lot of guys don't like tournaments that they choose to not play in. But this is on the business side now, where this comes into effect, to where I'm sure the tour doesn't want these guys, trash talking, not trash talking, but saying anything negative about what's going on with other tournaments. I mean, this is as a whole the tour. So for Rory, the biggest name in golf, to go out there and say he doesn't like these tournaments, that's not a great look. That if you want to get somewhat little butthurt about something Rory did this weekend, that's probably somewhere you can go. But even that, he made a mistake. He said, as Bud would say, he said the quiet part out loud. And that's where I think you can look at him and say, not your greatest moment, but everything else, he's a well-deserved champion. He deserved this second in a row. I think he's landed in a nice spot in history in golf, and he's earned that. And so I applaud him for that. And real fast, Keel Bonner, thank you so much. Peace, Snowman. Looks like you're watching us over on the Snowman channel. We really appreciate you watching. Once again, I usually have Keith with me. He is away this week, so it's just me doing a Masters recap and then looking ahead to the RBC Heritage. So thank you for stopping in. Thank you for the donation, and really appreciate your support. But let's hit some other storylines as well when it came to this Masters. One of the guys who was having a really stellar round coming on the weekend and on Sunday in particular, Colin Morikawa was one of those guys trying to chase down Rory in the end. And what was interesting about Colin Morikawa is the back spasms that took him out of the Players kind of reared its ugly head again and was really affecting him on Sunday. And you could see his noticeable limp as he was going up some of these fairways at Augusta. And he battled through it and still put together a pretty good round. It wasn't enough in the end to chase down Rory, but nobody else was either. So the fact knowing that he was still suffering from those spasms and pushed through and still was able to play as well as he played, considering is actually quite impressive. It's I haven't had much positive to say about Morikawa in the last 2 years, but I will say that showed me something from him. That showed me a bit of his like his priorities was I want to put it, not a need, because as he would say, he doesn't owe us anything, but he wanted to put on a good showing and a good finish at the Masters. And if he had to withdraw on Sunday at the Masters after withdrawing on Thursday at the Players after 2 holes, that would have been pretty detrimental to his year. I think we would have seen a big downturn from Colin, but I think he's going to be able to figure this out. The fact that he was able to play as well as he did, pushing through that pain, shows a good sign that he'll be able to kind of work through this, play through this. He'll probably take some unexpected breaks, maybe withdraw from ahead of the tournament, but withdraw from tournaments he planned on playing in to kind of build in some rest. So we got a pretty big stretch coming up here right now, starting this week with the RBC Heritage, another signature event. I think it's 5 of the next 6 tournaments leading up to, or 4 of the 5, the 5 tournaments leading up to the PGA Championship, which is the next major, are signature events. So this is now the heart of the season. This is a pretty big stretch of golf. So we'll see how Morikawa's spasms hold up. We'll see how they affect him, see if he can push through. All well wishes to him in that endeavor. And with that said, I will be staying away from him this week, just with that question mark. There's still a chance he withdraws. It seems like he's going to play, but it wouldn't shock me for a last minute withdrawal here, or even mid round withdrawal. So I will personally be staying away from Colin Morikawa, even though this course absolutely sets up beautifully for him, and especially with the way he's been playing. So, but that's a little. We'll get to more of the RBC Heritage in a little bit. But as I alluded to earlier, too, Gary Woodland, another great story from the Masters. He's still just playing really good, and this is where you got to pay attention when you're looking at bets and DFS or any type of golf fantasy going forward right now in the immediate future. He's still undervalued on DK. Let me see, what was he on DK, like, for instance, this week? Gary Woodland is still only $6,800. Gary Woodland's stats are still a little skewed if you're on a site like BetSperts, where you're able to build models using with the different stats. His numbers are skewed. His value is skewed. Nothing is matching the way that Gary Woodland is playing since the Players Championship. He's a T14 at the Valspar. He won the Texas Children's Houston. There it is. I had to have it in front of me to say it right. And then he finished T33 this past week at the Masters. So Gary Woodland is still going to be a value advantage for you just about in every format. You're probably going to get great odds on him for things like top 20s, top 30s, winning if you want to take him outright. I could see him being someone who, with the way he's playing right now and having a win under his belt just 2 weeks ago, I could see him winning this tournament this weekend coming up at the RBC Heritage. So just keep an eye on Gary Woodland. He's playing fantastic. He's playing loose, free golf that's showing that he let a load off his mind, off his chest, and the effect that can have on these guys. Remember, they are human. They deal with real world things just like you and me. They unfortunately just do it in front of millions of viewers every week or every month or however often they play. They have, especially because golf is such a, when it comes to filling the space on a television, broadcast, the broadcasters need something to talk about. So they're talking about these guys' personal lives. So unfortunately for Gary Woodland, he had a lot of his story out there. He took charge of it. And, ever since then, he's really just loosened up, and it's fun to watch. And I'm so happy to see him out there doing well. And I'm going to keep backing him. because Gary Woodland right now is a force to be reckoned with and someone who can go out there in a field like this and make some noise. So keep an eye on Gary Woodland this week as well. Some other news, I guess, or just kind of storylines from the Masters. Scotty Scheffler, got off to a very pedestrian, by his standards, pedestrian Thursday, Friday, but then once that weekend hit, I can't remember if they said it's never been done or it's only been done a handful of times, but he played both Saturday and Sunday, all 36 of those holes bogey free, and that was something that was incredibly impressive. And he was about maybe less than an inch away from a birdie on 17 on Sunday, which did not get birdied at all on Sunday. He would have been the only one to birdie it, and that would have put him in a playoff with Rory at the end with the way it shook out. So that would have been, you want to talk about what the only thing that could have made this Masters better, a Rory and Scotty playoff on Sunday night. That would have been sorry, that would have been really appointment viewing television. I think we would have seen some crazy numbers. I think word would have got out real fast on socials. People would have been turning it on that weren't watching it. That would have been amazing, and we were so close to getting it. Once again, Rory earned what he got, but we were very close to an epic showdown. And Scotty Scheffler still once again proves that even when he's not playing his best golf, he is still easily a top 3 golfer, if not still the top golfer in the world. I think that's not outlandish at all to say. Yes, he didn't finish number 1 this past week at the Masters, but he was right there and easily could have. So Scotty Scheffler still bow down to the king. He's going to be just fine, and he's going to be just fine this week as well. So keep an eye out on that as well. Trying to think, let me see. I want to pull up some of the guys. So I didn't write it down because why would I? But I want to touch on some of the guys that unfortunately missed on this past week with the Masters, because it wasn't like an absurd amount of guys that we missed on, or at least I should say I missed on. I don't want to speak for Keith because I know Keith had an all right week, and most of his guys did all right. But I know the guys that I specifically had talked about that missed on. Ryan Fox was a very big disappointment, unfortunately. Michael Kim as well. Michael Kim is someone who has performed well at Augusta in the past. It felt like he could at least make the cut. I wasn't looking for him to score a ton of points, but I was expecting to be able to get some weekend points from him. So those two were kind of my two. I don't want to call them value guys because they're better than value guys, but those two are the ones that I could have really used for my lineups. Unfortunately, the bigger names, Bryson looked off all week. He did all right on Thursday. He had an all right Thursday, but other than that, he just looked off. Something wasn't right. He looked frustrated. He did a pretty decent job, and the broadcasters kept alluding to this as well. But Bryson did do a pretty decent job of kind of composing himself, staying patient with the golf course early on Thursday. Even when he was missing shots, he wasn't responding to his misses by getting overly aggressive and making it worse. He unfortunately just was still missing those shots, and he just couldn't quite put the ball in the right place. And unfortunately, in Augusta, when you just misplace the ball just by a few feet sometimes, or even a few inches on some of these greens, it can easily be a 2-point swing, a 2-stroke swing. So that's unfortunately was kind of what was going on with Bryson all weekend. And it led to a miscut, which was that one hurt a lot of people. I think he was roughly, I think he was over 30% owned, I'm pretty sure, in the Millie Maker for the Masters. So that hurt a lot of people. Bobby McIntyre, also someone who I expected to do well, who did not. And then also Min Woo Lee was the other surprise to me. Because I honestly, when I was building my lineup, when I was putting together my player pool, I actually felt like I was playing it pretty safe. I kept my player pool small. I really focused on some course history, horse for the courses, over necessarily current form. And unfortunately, just some of the guys that I was really counting on just fell short a little bit. So it wasn't a total loss week, but I was in the negative for return on my investment this week, unfortunately, with the Masters. just because I played so little lineups and unfortunately didn't get any of them 6 for 6 because of a couple of those names I just mentioned. So it is what it is. Masters is kind of a unique animal when it comes to the betting in the DFS world. So it's just how it goes sometimes. So that just happens. So I think when it comes to the Masters, I think we're pretty much wrapped up. As far if Keith was here, I'd ask him if I missed on any storylines he wanted to get to. I'd say, what I can do really fast. I can say some of my bigger hits on the week for the Masters that I think I was more so, not that I was in, solely out to left field in the minority, but I feel like I was definitely in the minority on some of these guys. But Maverick McNeely, he turned out a very good performance. I know he finished the tournament at 1 over par, looks like. But he had a great Sunday round. He had a great Friday round, I believe it was. So he just really had kind of one. Let me see which round it was. Yeah, he shot. So on Sunday, he shot 5 under on Sunday, 2 under on Saturday, 2 under on Friday. Oh yeah, that's what it was. It was the Thursday round. He shot 5 over. But then he turned it around from there. So Maverick McNeely really turned out for the Masters. I like him again as a little sneak peek this week at RBC. So keep an eye on that. Cam Young was the guy that I was really cheering for. He unfortunately, when you're going up against Rory, who was in the form that he was in this week, and able to scramble his way back from the mistakes he did make, you can't be shooting yourself in the foot too much. And unfortunately, Cam Young played. It's not like he blasted his foot off at any point, to stay with that reference, but he was just a little too inconsistent to kind of hold down the fort and stick with him. And when Rory fell back, he was able to get it right back fairly quickly. And unfortunately for Cam Young, it took him a few more holes, which just kind of took the momentum and the wind out of his sails when it came to keeping up with Rory and that crowd and everyone around him, and Justin Rose making a push and Scotty making a push. So Cam Young will get there. For the most part, the composure you saw out of him this week shows that I truly believe Cam Young will win a major championship, if not this year, in the very near future. So Cam Young is someone I'm looking at every major championship this year, because he just carries himself in a way that he can do it. He's got the headspace for it. He's got the game for it. He just needs to kind of put it all together at the right times and the stars to align. And they will one day for Cam Young, because he's impressive to watch out there. And he also just there was a couple putts. I think there was a chip that just barely missed a couple times. So he was right there as well, as far as just being a little bit on the unlucky side in a couple situations. So Cam Young, get in there for this and futures, and you probably get him at pretty good odds for the PGA, the Open, the US Open. I'll have to look at the research to see which ones fit him the most, but Cam Young, I am definitely going to be looking at for some of these upcoming majors this year and next for sure. But let's get into the RBC Heritage. We're about 23 minutes in, because I'm solo, probably not going to go the full hour. So let's start talking this week. The Masters will be back next year. Can't wait for that. So, but we do have to move on. We got a signature event in the RBC at the storied Harbor Town Links in Hilton Head, South Carolina this week. So this is a complete opposite tournament and course setup to what we just saw at Augusta. Driving distance doesn't really come into play here. You really need to play. And that's for two reasons. One reason is because a lot of this course is dog legs, lefts and rights. You guys are going to be hitting less than driver off the tee. There's a lot of narrow fairways. This is going to be the part that it's going to be similar to with Augusta, is that you're going to want to put your ball in specific spots. And if you don't, even if you're in the fairway, if you're in the wrong spot of the fairway, it could be a full stroke difference in what the outcome is going to be. So what we want this week are going to be guys that are accurate off the tee with less than driver. We're going to want guys who are good for on approach from 100 to 150 yards, good from approach in general. Also around the green, the strokes are gained around the green is a stat that comes up correlating here quite often. So we're going to put that back into the model as well. And then you got to need to score on the excuse me, on the par fives here. So I put in par five birdie or better as the fifth stat that I used this week in the model. So to kind of quickly recap that, I got par five birdie or better. I got strokes gained around the green, strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained approach, and then approach proximities from about 100 to 150 yards out. Because once again, this is not the longest course out there on tour. Even when these guys are hitting less than driver with some of these 9 woods or hybrids or, 4 driving irons, whatever you want to, whatever some of these guys are going with, they're still hitting it pretty far. They're still going to be putting it right at the elbow or just past the elbow of some of these dog legs. So they're actually going to end up with some fairly short, more target type golf approach shots in. So that 100 to 150 yard proximity is, I think, pretty important this week. And then I also did those same stats for some comparable courses as well. And then, as always, I looked at course history. I looked at a little bit of recent form, more so course history here, and then put that all together in a model, added in some of my own scoring projections for fantasy points, added in some projected ownership numbers, made those all make sense so that they made sense in correlating with each other, all the boring stuff, and shot out my rankings for the week. So what that looks like is what I'm going to share with you now. So basically, some of these guys are no surprise that they're at the top of the list, but starting at, we'll just do kind of the top 10 straight up, and then we'll talk about some other guys. But some of the guys that are at the top of my rankings are also at the top of the DK pricing, which is kind of how it's supposed to go. And then you'll find some guys mixed in that are less expensive. So number one, sorry about that. Number one on my list in my rankings is Matt Fitzpatrick. Fitzy, I want to see, I forget exactly. Honestly, ended up not paying too much attention to him at the Masters. He did finish T18. He won the Valspar. He finished second for the player. So like Fitzpatrick is a crazy run of golf here. This course fits him great. His course history here, as I pulled that up, was T38, T28, and then he won this back in 2023. So this is a guy, he did miss the cut in 22, but even before that, he went T4, T14, T39, T14, all the way back to 2018. So, so this is a course that he's very comfortable on. This is a guy who's in fantastic form. And this is a guy who can kind of hold a candle to all the rest of this field in the signature event. So I love Matt Fitzpatrick this week. Right behind him, the model spit out Tommy Fleetwood. So he's number 2. Number 3 on the list is Russell Henley. Russell Henley's someone that I said last week, I said the week before, I tend to miss on him because the weeks I do play him are like the 1 or 2 times he misses the cut, i.e. the Genesis, i.e. Valero, to name a few recently. But in between those 2 missed cuts, going all the way back to January, he has a T19, T8, T19 again, a T6, a T13, and then a T3 this past week at the Masters. So, so Russell Henley is right there in the right form. And as far as his course history here, another guy that this course tends to line up perfectly for his style of game. He's a shot shaper. And accurate. So he finished T8 here last year, T12 the year before that, T19 the year before that. So yeah, Russell Henley is going to be one of my favorite plays this week, especially only at 9,600. And when I check what his ownership was as well, so his projected ownership is going to be right around 19-20%, it looks like, in GPP format. So yeah, you're going to be paying a premium for him. But I think he can hold up his end of the bargain this week, especially only being 9,600. So I like Russell Henley this week. Siwoo Kim, another guy coming into 8,900. He's priced just right. He should continue to play pretty consistent. I know we're used to, when it came to the Masters, he finished 47th. And we're used to seeing him play pretty well at the Masters. He made the cut. He played the weekend at 47, all right. It definitely was disappointing from what we expected out of him, but I think he can get that back on track this week at 8,900. It's a great price. And then Scotty Scheffler coming in at number at number 5 for me. Sorry, I looked at my screen wrong. Scotty Scheffler coming in at number 5. He is 13,500. But with the math and the way I do my model here, he once again, it's as Keith says, it's hard not to play him sometimes. I'm playing 7 total lineups this week. I squeezed him into 2. It definitely wasn't easy to do because there's not necessarily a ton of low value. I'll get to who is, but there's probably only a couple guys in that 6K range that you're gonna need if you want to play Scotty. So keep that in mind. Keep the names in mind that I say. But yeah, Scotty Scheffler, I definitely will be playing a little bit. And then Ryo Hisatsune is still on a tear, still not being talked about enough, still under 8K on DK. He didn't play at the Masters. He finished T8 at Valero, T30 at Valspar, T13 at the Players. And his history here, he only played it once. Last year was the first time. He finished T18. So he does everything right for this course. He's accurate off the tee. He's an accurate approach and good around the green. So like Ryu, I think is a smash play this week at only $7,700. You got to love that. And then another guy right there that's pretty much identical in my projections this week for him, same price, same everything, is Akshay Bhatia coming in at number 7 in the ranking. So I like Bhatia to look a little bit more comfortable this week. He also seemed a little uncomfortable at Augusta this past week. Still didn't play terrible, obviously, but I expected a little bit more out of him. He did, he missed the cut, but I felt like he was close to putting it together this week, and then every time he got close, he just stumbled and couldn't hold on to it. So that inconsistency is something that I was not expecting out of him, but I look for him to bounce back. Saw videos of him out on the range early this week at RBC already, so Akshay should have a good week in line for him. And then Chris Gotterup coming in at number 9. Chris Gotterup's going to continue to play well, as expected, being his debutante performance at the Masters this past week. Did not scare him, did not face him. He was able to put together a T24 finish. Looked good doing it as well. So Chris Gotterup, especially only 8,100 for a guy who's been playing as well as he has this season. 8,100, that's what you're going to get in these signature events sometimes. You're going to get some value where the market is just mispricing these guys. So Chris Gotterup going to be a great start as well. Now let's get to some of the guys who are outside my top 10, but I like anyways for other reasons, due to either ownership or price or other things like current form and course history that sometimes the numbers don't always accurately portray to my liking. So I already mentioned Maverick McNeely. I love him again this week. He's just playing well, so going to ride that. And then we can talk about Sam Stevens as well. Sam Stevens is quietly kind of making a little push right now the past 2 weeks. He finished 5th at the Texas Children's and then finished T24th at the Masters this past week. And when I look up his history here at Harbour Town, it's not the greatest. It's T54 last year, and he missed the cut in 2023. He did not play in 2024. So, but needless to say, he was not in the form that he is in currently. So even before those last 2 weeks, he finished 58th at the Players. He did miss the cut at the API, but before that, he hadn't missed a cut since last year. So he's had a fantastic season so far this year with only one missed cut. I love the form he's in. His excuse me, his His game lines up pretty good here. The only thing that worries me about him is he's not necessarily lighting up the scoreboard on the par fives. He is when on comparable courses, but overall he's not. But everything else, he's so good off the tee. He top three off the tee, both in comp courses and overall, and then he's also good from that approach range as well of 100 to 150. So I like Sam Stevens a lot. Only 7,200 this week, and I believe his ownership. Where was his ownership at? His ownership was projected around like 8, 9, 10% ownership. So that's a fantastic bargain for him. And speaking of which, I don't think I said Chris Gotterup was projected to be owned around 14%, Maverick McNeely around 11 or 12%. So both of those guys also well within ranges that you can work with when it comes to GPPs or cash. And then let's see, Patrick Cantlay, I think, is a guy who can go out there and win this week as well. This is his type of event. He seems to be kind of entering back into the fold. T32 at the Players, T7 at Valspar, T12 this past week at the Masters. So he's on a nice little run here, and his history here at Harbor Town is phenomenal. He was a T13 last year, T3 the year before that, a third place the year before that, second place the year before that. So this is Patrick Cantlay's course. I think this could be the year he wins it. He finally gets that win. As you just saw, he's been in the top 5 3 times or so. So Patrick Cantlay at 9,200. It's a fantastic place for, depending on your line of construction, to start your lineups with him there and really mix in a lot of the 8K guys and 9K guys. So love Patrick Cantlay this week. I think I have him in. Let's see, I have him in 2 of my 7 lineups as well. And then Brian Harmon also playing great. He showed up at the Masters this week, was able to put it together. This course is even more tailor-made for him because it takes, driver distance kind of out of play. His approach game is great right now. He's throwing darts out there. So Brian Harmon, 7,000, great value. Jacob Bridgman might be the best play this week, though. For a few reasons. One, he's going to be around 11-12% projected ownership. It looks like he's 8,200, so he's right in that range where you can land on him at that price point. A couple different lineup construction styles. Plus, he's just playing great golf. So Jacob Bridgman, I love this week. I'm making it a point to get him in multiple lineups as well. One guy that people are kind of forgetting about too, I want to mention real fast here is Andrew Novak, 6,700 this week. Yes, he has not been in the greatest of form. He missed the cut at the Masters. A lot of that is because let's see, his tee to green numbers were awful. His putting was pretty bad, and his scrambling was bad. So those are the main kind of key points you got to do to get around Augusta. Before that, though, he did have a T14 at Valero, T55 at Valspar, and the rest of his season has just been so-so. The reason why I like Andrew Novak and he's being overlooked is that he finished second here last year. He did it on the back of gaining 2.2 strokes on the field from tee to green, and he just kind of crushed every metric that you could think of last year. Nobody is talking about him, though. Andrew Novak's projected ownership right now is 1%. 1% ownership for a guy that finished here second last year, and is playing, all right golf, not the best, but playing all right golf. But we've seen be able to turn it on at times in the past. He's definitely worth, in my highs at 6,700. Like if you have a lineup where you're trying to squeeze in Scotty, like that's a guy that I'd be willing to take a chance on, because that's what you're gonna have to do down there. You're gonna have to take a chance on someone, and why not a guy that finished second last year? Sepp Straka is another guy that also is trending upwards right now. Daniel Berger is a main guy I want to touch on, though. He is priced at 7,300. He is obviously had the win recently. Sorry, not the win. The almost win. He had the second place finish at the API recently. T66 of the Players, and he did miss the cut at the Masters, but his history here at Harbor Town, no matter. Now, Daniel Berger has had kind of an up and down few years. But he finished T3 here last year. He finished T21 2022, T13 21 in 21, T3 in 2020. He's never missed the cut since playing here in 2015. Daniel Berger is a guy that is just comfortable here. He's playing decent, pretty good golf right now, and he's only 7,300. And if I believe, his projected ownership is about 6 to 7% right now. So Daniel Berger is another smash start down here in the 7K range. I mentioned Gary Woodland at 6,800 as well. The other guy down here, actually the lowest price guy I wanted to mention is Patrick Rogers. A name not said all that often on this show or really any other shows. Not in the greatest form. He's missed the cut at the Valero, missed the cut at Texas Children's. He had a nice run of no missed cuts actually to start the entire season. So he didn't miss any cuts until the Texas Children and then at the Valero. He did not play in the Masters. Oops, if I spell it right. This past week. So he has had some time to to resettle here down in South Carolina. And his history the past 3 years has been a T19, a T5, and a T42. So Patrick Rogers just feels like someone who can kind of sneak up on this field, not win. I'm not thinking Patrick Rogers is going to win this, but I think he can get to the weekend. I think he can get you some valuable points for someone who's only priced $6,400 on DK. And I think he's going to be a nice surprise in those lineups where you're trying to squeeze Scotty and another big name in there. So, for instance, let me pull up some of the lineups that I had that I built with Scotty real fast to show you how I went about it. If the app will load here, let's see. Where's my Scotty lineups? Okay, so right here, one of my Scotty lineups, I have Scotty Scheffler, I have Sam Stevens, Ryo Hisatsuni, Gary Woodland, because once again, he's down there at very underpriced at, I think it was 6,800. Yeah, 6,800. So he falls into that same category with Scheffler, which is I think a fantastic pairing. So once again, that lineup of Scheffler, Stevens, Hisatsuni, Woodland, and then Daniel Berger, a guy who, once again, I said is very comfortable here, and then Andrew Novak, a guy that finished second here last year. So like that's something you can do. And then my other Scotty lineup is a much more risky, I will say, because I paired Scotty with Fleetwood randomly. This one is one that I kind of wanted to throw together, kind of a crazy possibility, but Scotty Scheffler, Tommy Fleetwood, Gary Woodland again, Andrew Novak again, and then I played Patrick Rogers in this one, and then I went to someone to just throw a dart on, because what I found, like, and what you'll find is that if you try to do something like that with Fleetwood and Scheffler, there's not much money left to go around. But I will touch on the guy that I went there, which is a complete shot in the dark. So I'm not standing by him necessarily by any means, but I'm taking a chance, basically. And that's Pearson Coody. Pearson Coody at 6,500. He's had a decent year. He did withdraw from the Texas Children's, finished T55 at the Valspar. Missed the cut of the Players, missed the cut of the API, but he had a really good year, a solid year started before that with the T13, T18, T2, T10, T48, T16. So like it's a guy who was playing good golf. He's fallen on some hard times, but he's someone that I think is worth at least taking a chance on when you're left with $6,500 because you want to spend all your money up at the top. So he's a guy that has shown us this year that he can do it. He's someone that I think can do it, at least do just enough for you this week to warrant taking a chance on. So those are the two ways that I got Scotty Scheffler into my lineups. But once again, I only did that on 2 lineups. I tried to kind of keep what I did this week is I kept my player pool smaller, probably like 20 guys. I only played 7 lineups, and I made it a point to not play anybody in more than 2 lineups. So I had kind of my core guys like 5 guys that I've mentioned that I made it a point to make sure they were the first ones to get used twice. But outside of that, and I made sure to use them together a lot too. But outside of that, I just kind of mixed in a few of the guys that you guys just heard me talk about. No one's getting played more than twice across 7 lineups, and we're gonna try to spread ourselves out and win some money this week. So I hope you guys enjoyed listening to just me. I know it's a little bit of a different show when it's just me solo. To be honest, it's not the easiest thing to do on my end as well. So I appreciate you guys that have stopped in and listened. Really appreciate the support. Once again, thank you, Keel Bonner. I hope I'm saying your name right, 4629. Really appreciate that. Love you guys. And as always, stay classy. We'll see you next week.